So let's talk about the big issue, the education question. The question that has been much in the press, and maybe let's start with you, Representative Thiessen. Maybe you could tell our viewers a little bit how that issue unfolded from your perspective and where you think it might go.
The education issue.
The education issue.
Yeah, well...
and we're talking K-12 here, pre-K.
Right. Sure. You know, I think... well, I mean, it's an issue that evolved a lot over the course of the session. And I think one of the interesting things about it is that, except for the governor, I suppose, but both bodies of the legislature started out lower than where we ultimately ended up in conference committee. I think the House was at about $150 million or so above the base. And about a 0.5% increase on the formula and some early childhood education. The Senate was somewhat above that, but after the conference committee process, we ended up at, I think, $400 million. And the governor started out higher than that, partly because he has this proposal to do all-day pre-K, or started out with that proposal, which, in addition to doing something on the formula and some other investments. And kind of where we are right now, I think, is that the governor wasn't satisfied, didn't agree with where the legislature ended up on education funding, wanted to do more for early childhood, and in particular this pre-kindergarten effort. And you know, I think from his perspective, you know, in talking with him, he sees this issue as kind of a historic opportunity for the state. You know, we have a nearly $2 billion surplus, and in that context, and the fact that we know right now that the science is pretty clear that those years from birth to 5 are really critical for brain development. You know, up to 90% of your brain development is complete by the time you reach age 5. And he thinks this is the time to make that kind of historic investment and not just put money kind of where we've always put it before, but to really focus on the place where that achievement gap can be closed. And so he's very strongly committed to that. And as a result, we weren't able to reach an agreement with the bill that the legislature passed and what the governor could sign. And that's where we are now, going to, I think, special session over there. Well, in fact, we are. I just saw the veto letter today.
Representative Walker, your thoughts? Representative Anderson, rather, your thoughts on this?
Sure. You know, Representative Thiessen's correct. It's $400 million in additional funding that we provided for K-12 education. But when you compare it to the last biennium, we're talking about $1.3 billion more than what we funded in the last biennium is going towards K-12 education. Out of that amount, we have about $60 million that's going to be dedicated to early learning. That's programs like pre-K scholarships for students that are in need of it. And from my perspective, I know the governor has been really adamant that it be spent on universal pre-kindergarten care for 4-year-olds. But the input that I get from my constituents is they want to see the dollars targeted to those who need it most. One of my constituents actually happens to be Art Rolnick, who has been a huge advocate for having targeted resources going towards early learning scholarships. And I think that that's the right approach. I think that going with universal pre-K and the dollars that the governor is proposing far underfund what would really need to take place if that was to be what he wanted to do. And I also see it as a property tax increase for citizens across the state, because to even make that realistic, a lot of these school districts are going to have to expand their buildings in order to make this work. My school district in particular, when the all-day K funding was put in place, had to do a lot of last-minute rejiggering of their space, and now we're going through more building just to accommodate that last piece of legislation, and this would just add to the property tax burden of citizens.
So for our viewers who are wondering who Art Rolnick is, he's the former chief economist, I believe, of the Federal Reserve Bank
Correct.
here, and has been following pre-K and education issues for, I don't know, a decade or more. So.
He put the issue on the map in Minnesota, I would say. Yeah.
Senator, your thoughts?
Yes, I have a lot of thoughts about this whole situation with the E-12 bill, because spent my time, mostly the 15, 16, 17 years that I've been in the legislature, I've been working on education. I think for the Senate Democrats, we really wanted to put education as our #1 issue. And it was, I believe, as for the Senate Democrats, transportation and education. For me, it was education. There wasn't enough money in that bill, even at 400, to meet the needs of what we figured was important. I think Representative Thiessen said it when it's become very well known that those early years are very important, and we look at this as closing the achievement gap and preparing our workforce for the future. We have to admit that many of our children are coming into the schools, coming from families of very low income. The percentage is increasing greatly of children that are coming from homes that have very much needs. We believe that will help to solve the problem. The House came out with 150 when we finally got the targets, which was very late in the session. The Senate went to 350, and the governor was at 650, I believe. So right there, we see the difference between the groups of people. The governors, I think, came out with a very strong visionary proposal. And he said, this is a proposal, it's not the law. And so that told me he said, this is what I'd like, but none of us get what we like over there, only ourselves. We have to compromise with everyone else. And we tried to compromise. We got up to 400 then, which was great. We were happy about that. And the Senate then raised the amount of money that was put on the formula, which is what the schools really want. School boards and superintendents have really been crying for that, and it's needed. There's no doubt about that. However, we came up to, we hoped we would get 2 and 2. It didn't work that way, and in order to meet the needs of what we thought was important for the whole state of Minnesota, we didn't listen to what the governor wanted to say very well, although we wanted to, because we knew it was the best thing, but we thought it might work out. It didn't.
Senator Hand, your thoughts?
Well, I think the key here is that what we did was essentially a compromise. You have Republicans in control of the House and Democrats in control of the Senate, and the bill that we ended up with that came out of the compromise, the conference process, was more money than either body had proposed. So I think that was a gesture to the governor to say, okay, let's put some more money on this education bill. But the pre-K part of it that the governor was really interested in, that he said was his top priority, I think you're right. There wasn't a lot of movement in the legislature. I think Senator Uyghur said on the floor that they had a hearing, but they didn't vote on it. So I think coming from a school board, I served on a school board for 8 years. I think the holy grail for school boards is put money on the formula, put the money into a sort of a neutral fund that we can decide locally how to use. Can certainly use it for pre-K things, but they use it for other things as well. So I think the legislature trying to find a bill that will pass both bodies, they came up with a structure that was maybe more money, but most of it on the formula. And the governor's program just didn't gain any traction in either house, and so I think it was very difficult for that to be part of the compromise. Looks like we're going to have to deal with it in a special session.
So do we know when the special session will be? And
I have not
all yet to be sorted out.
I have not heard. Typically, and I expect in this case, the governor will try to negotiate with the leadership in the House and the Senate to try to work through whatever they think they can put together and probably set down some agreement about what we will and won't do, because the governor can call us to session, but he can't end it. So we typically want to go in with a pretty clear sense of here's what we're going to do and what we're not going to do. I think that's probably going to take a couple of weeks to get that sorted out.
I think so, too.
So, and then the question is, where will you meet? Because as I understand it, the desks are gone, and there was some suggestion, I think the governor suggested you could pitch a tent maybe, but I suspect that was not made seriously. What happens next?
St. Paul Hotel.
Right.
They offered that we could do it.
Yeah, I mean, the Historical Society, I think, would be their building would be an option. William Mitchell, I know, is interested in hosting it, but I think the details of that have yet to be.
Another reason that we don't look for it to happen in the next day or two.
I think a great place would be Union Depot. We could all get on the train and ride down to Union Depot and do our business and then come back and park here.
There we go.
That would not be out of the possibility.